welcome back to a very special episode of the Coconut Tree Podcast. So, here at Coconut Election HQ, we all know that this upcoming week is election week. It's the big shebang. It's the Super Bowl of American politics.
Are we're in election HQ now?
We're always in. What do you mean? I've been in election HQ since I was 8 years old.
Okay.
But we are Coconut headquarters. All right. Hold on. I'm getting a breaking news. Trump cannot stop incriminating himself in public. I know that's not actually breaking news, but that is one of our topics for today. So I want to just open the floor here talking about Trump's gaffes. This man, he is a walking political gaffe. Like, I don't know who the people that are managing his campaign are, but they need to get a fucking clue, brother.
I think there's a big gap in intelligence right now between Republican and Democrat political operatives. And I think it's because Republicans have been demonizing academia and going to college for so long.
I don't think that that's as much of the problem. I think that Trump's campaign is uniquely poorly run. Like, he still has a chance of winning. Don't get me wrong. But I think that his campaign thus far has only hurt his chances. Like, I legitimately believe he might be doing better in the polls right now if he just never held a single rally.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. No one
like,
would see
they
how
just can't
insane
help
it is.
themselves.
Yeah, he can't string together coherent sentences. He says things that are deeply offensive and stupid, and yeah, of course.
All right, so let's focus in more specifically, because as you guys know, on the Coconut Tree Podcast, we try to be as unbiased as possible, and we try to go and talk about just the strategy of each campaign. Okay, that's the big thing for us. So I want to talk about the optics, the vision, the design, the campaign strategy of having him give a speech at Madison Square Garden the way that he did, with the way that it looked, the way that the lighting was set up. It legitimately looked like when the Nazis held a rally there in the 30s.
We're not even talking about the guests yet and what they've said while they were there.
Just the idea of having that style of rally in Madison Square Garden. And you could say, here, look, I am of the opinion that lots of people have had speeches like that in Madison Square Garden. That's fine. It's not Madison Square Garden that's the problem here. It's that the campaign didn't coordinate well enough to know how that was going to look and know what the other side was going to say about it. Like, it's just bad optics. It is bad campaign management. So when you talk about campaign strategy, one of the biggest things that you want to talk about or focus on is how risky it is to do certain things. Like, a lot of running a campaign is risk analysis. And they clearly just didn't even consider the risk analysis when they chose to put him at that location in that way at that time. And to do it the week before Election Day? That's just stupid.
Yeah, it's possible that this was an attempt to bait Democrats into calling him a Nazi, so then they could be like, oh, look, they're ridiculous. They think I'm a Nazi. But the problem is...
Yeah, except he actually acts like one. That's the problem.
The problem is not only did it look like a Nazi rally, they said things that were reminiscent of a Nazi rally. So, I mean...
Yeah, especially leading up to this. And I forgot to put this on our agenda today. Trump literally has been quoting Mein Kampf.
Wait, what?
Literally.
I think I missed that.
Yeah, no, he said that something along the lines of the immigrants to our country, the illegal immigrants, are poisoning the blood of our nation.
Yeah, I didn't know that was from Mein Kampf.
Which is a direct Mein Kampf.
Okay, yeah.
Reference. And he also had his thing where he said that he wishes that he had the generals that Hitler did because they were more loyal.
Yeah, because that's what the military
man.
is supposed to be. It's supposed to be personally loyal to one man, not the Constitution.
It's just very bizarre that, like, the optics of it. Like, here's my thing. He might legitimately believe those things. That's fine. But he's trying to get elected. Okay? Like, those are two separate issues in my mind. You can keep things to yourself while you try to get elected, and then get elected and let the floodgates of craziness open. But he's letting the floodgates open before he even gets elected. His wranglers need to wrangle him.
It's stupid, yeah.
Like, it's just dumb. Like, the references to all the Nazi shit, it's just a bad idea. It just doesn't make sense.
I do want to talk about some of the things that were said. I mean, there's the famous Puerto Rican comment, but there's more. There's more too that happened at that rally.
Oh, absolutely. I actually think so. I watched that rally, okay, live.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I was just tuning in to watch. And the Puerto Rico thing, I didn't even think about that until after the rally when I saw everyone freaking out about it on like Twitter and online and stuff. I actually didn't even consider it because it's so normalized to me that he's going to say stupid racist shit that I don't even think about it. Like, it's not even something that occurs in my mind that, oh, people are going to be upset about this because he just gets away with it so often. Nobody ever holds him accountable for the weird racist shit that he says. But things that did stick out to me on the night of that rally were, again, more Nazi shit, more fascist shit. It's haunting him like a ghost, the Nazi
Yeah.
shit.
There's the guy that said we need to slaughter liberals. He used the word slaughter. There's the
Yeah, literally referred to people that disagree with him as the enemy within.
the enemy within. There's Tucker
That is,
Carlson.
dude, that is a reference to Joseph Stalin. Stalin referred to his own generals and people as the enemy within.
There's Tucker Carlson who called Kamala Harris a low IQ Samoan Malaysian, which
Yeah.
I don't really understand where that came from unless you're just like comically racist.
Yeah, but she's not Samoan.
No, or Malaysian.
Yeah, it just makes no sense. But then again, Tucker Carlson doesn't even know what he actually believes. I mean, he's a socialist who's in denial.
I legitimately believe he's a Russian asset. I mean, he's been to Russia. He's talked about how great their grocery stores are. He talks about how evil Ukraine is.
He is legitimately a socialist that doesn't know what socialism is.
Yeah, that's possible.
Like, I mean, have you ever seen like the supercuts of him talking about tax policies and what we should be spending taxpayer dollars on?
He's definitely just like
He's literally a socialist.
Yeah. I also remember back when he was on Fox News, he once complained that if liberals get their way, there'll be a taco truck on every corner, and I just thought that was amazing, and that's a selling point if you ask me.
I don't like tacos myself, so.
Okay, well you're horrible, but that's fine.
Well, I'm just all right. So chat, listeners,
Chat.
a little chat. Is this real? A little bit of insight into your host Tom here. I am the pickiest eater you have never met on the face of the earth. I am psychotic when it comes to food, like absolutely insane. And I agree with it. Like, I know I'm nuts. It's totally irrational, the reasons that I don't like certain foods. That's what Anthony's talking about here.
Yeah. Just a
Just
little
for
sidebar
reference.
there. But yeah, another thing. The same guy, Tony Hinchcliffe, I think his name is, who said the Puerto Rican comments. He also in the same speech.
Well, his watermelon thing too.
Yeah. He implied that black people carve watermelon instead of pumpkins on Halloween.
Dude.
What the fuck?
I just don't understand. We're not laughing at the jokes here, guys. We're laughing at how dumb it is to say the jokes
so
in this
stupid.
context. But this goes back to what I was just talking about. Who the fuck is running Trump's campaign? Who didn't vet the candidate? Who didn't vet the guests at your candidate's rally to the point where you would know that guy could go rogue and say some racist shit like that? They need to vet the fucking speakers.
Well, if you believe the reports that came out afterwards, and I don't know how accurate this is, it was a leak, but supposedly they looked at his speech beforehand and they actually made edits because some things went too far. One of the things that
Oh,
went too far that they requested to be removed was apparently he was going to call Kamala Harris a cunt. So they got rid of that.
I think that would have been safer than what he said.
It might have been, yeah.
So wait, you're telling me that they actually, like the Trump campaign, approved his speech
If the
with the
stories are
watermelon
true,
shit and the Puerto Rico shit?
these are behind the scenes leaks. So who
So
knows?
this is
But-
conspiracy tier rumor at this point.
No, it's not. I mean, it's reported by reputable publications, but we just don't know if it's real.
I'm a little dubious on that one.
Yeah, me too. I would say take it with like a 50%. Maybe it's not true.
Okay. All right, let's pretend that never happened then.
Yeah.
But if that did happen, Trump should have fired his campaign manager years ago if that's the case.
Yeah, I just don't think he cares anymore. I think he's got his plan to either win or if he doesn't win to steal the election somehow. I don't think he cares.
Well, I mean, here's another thing. I forgot to put this in the agenda. Well, we'll get to this in a second. I want to finish the Madison Square Garden stuff. Let's do this topic first, and then we'll jump on to the next thing that I want to talk about here.
Sure.
So, when it comes to the Madison Square Garden stuff, you have the Nazi optics coming into Madison Square Garden. You have the really bad job of vetting the speakers who are going to talk. You have Rudy Giuliani standing up there screaming about slaughtering people. Yes, quote, slaughtering people. Specifically, Rudy Giuliani also mentioned Israel-Palestine when he was speaking at Madison Square Garden, and he said that they were going to end the conflict. Like, the second that Trump gets elected, he's going to end that conflict. As
How is
in,
he gonna
he's
do that?
going to slaughter the Palestinians,
Ah.
is essentially the gist here.
Oh, so that thing that far leftists are accusing Joe Biden and Kamala of doing?
Yeah, well, nobody ever said those people were smart.
No, they're definitely not. They definitely are not.
Yeah, like if you're a single issue voter and Israel Palestine is your single issue and you don't vote for Kamala Harris in this election, I don't know what the jail. Like you jail for reckless irresponsibility.
Or you just
Gross
need a handler.
negligence.
You're too
Yeah,
low,
you
low
need you need a handler for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's,
That's just bad. And then you had the dude who was shaking the cross above his head,
Wait, I didn't see that.
screaming about the enemy within. You didn't see that?
No.
No, he was literally holding like a Catholic style cross, shaking it in the air, talking about the enemy within and how we need to get rid of the liberals. And it's like,
It's a clown
dude,
show. Oh my
it was
God.
intense.
Not a Nazi
It
rally,
was
by the way.
really intense. Yeah, it's somehow not a Nazi rally, interestingly enough. Very, very bizarre.
Was this
So,
sorry, at the Madison Square Garden rally, was this where he said that he and Speaker Mike Johnson have a secret plan in the House of
I
Representatives?
think that was mentioned before then. I don't remember if that was mentioned in this specific speech.
Okay, 'cause I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, what?
I actually think that that's nothing. I think that's a total nothing burger. He's just trying to rile people up.
I think it could be an attempt to delay certification of the vote. That's my
Why?
thinking.
So that you can cause an actual constitutional problem
Yeah, so
and
he
get
can
it
come out
sent
on
to the
top.
Supreme Court?
Yeah, I think that's what he's trying to do.
What happens if he loses Florida, loses the whole Rust Belt? Like, he just gets absolutely clobbered in this election. Like, it's not even close.
Voter fraud.
And it
Tom.
goes to the... No, I'm saying... And then it goes to the Supreme Court. What's the Supreme Court going to do?
I don't know.
Because
man,
if
you
they
gotta-
try to say that it's a fraudulent election and it's a total landslide, we might actually spark a civil war.
Yeah, I think so too. But then you have sycophants like Clarence Thomas on there who will just suck his dick and whose wife is working for like.
I don't even know if he
extremist
would be able to
organizations.
bend it on this one, dude.
I don't know, man. I just know they handed George W. Bush the election and didn't recount Florida. So I mean, who knows?
I know, but that was close. Like, that wasn't... Like, I'm saying a total landslide.
Yeah, I also think it's a little doubtful that there will be a total landslide.
I know. I'm just saying, like, what kind of options are they exploring here?
I'm sure they're
Because
exploring
clearly they
every
want to
single
cause a
option.
constitutional problem so that it goes to the Supreme Court and they just win by default.
Yeah, I think their
But
hope is that they can, if they can cast doubt on enough states, on enough slates of electors, then they can maybe force like a resolution in the House, basically. And then because the Republicans control the House, I think he would come out on top there.
I'm just saying, if he actually scums the election, I think there legitimately could be a civil war.
Yeah, I think there
Like
would
that
be
might be the
violence. Yeah.
spark in the powder keg.
And I'm not one to. I'm not like a Tim Pool kind of asshole who is always talking about civil war. I
No,
think I
I think it would be the
genuinely.
worst thing to happen to our country since the last civil war.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not here. I'm not. I don't say this lightly. Is what I'm saying. I think there could be violence if he like succeeds in stealing an election. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, I mean, there should be.
Yeah, maybe. I don't
If
know.
somebody
It
if
depends.
somebody legitimately steals an election and undermines democracy to that extent, there should be a civil war.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it, but maybe.
I can tell you which side I'd be fighting on.
Yeah.
I protect the Constitution is my goal.
True. True.
But yeah, anyway, moving on to the next topic of discussion here. Um, I want to talk about early voting. I want to talk about young folks getting real excited about the election. And I want to talk about split ticket voting. So, when it comes to the early voting, all right, everybody's really excited right now. I have seen the young people, and I think that this is just a baby's first election type situation. But for the early voting numbers that we're seeing, specifically, I want to hone in on Pennsylvania here. Personally, we are not hitting the target margins that I really wanted to see. I think that if we were at like the 30%, that would be the margin that I want to see Kamala have in early voting in PA, where I can feel real comfortable. I mean, 26, 27% is what I've been seeing so far for the early PA vote, which is pretty close to my benchmark. So I'm not like freaking out or anything like that. But I have seen people on Twitter who were already saying, like, oh my God, she won. It's over. She's up by 26%. No, guys, this is just the early vote. Don't convince yourself it's okay yet. You need to go vote. Still go vote. You have to go vote. Nobody has won yet. Please go vote. Please.
Yeah,
Please vote.
I'll chime in with a agreement there. You gotta vote. Don't be lulled into a false sense of security by the early voting, because and
Yes.
my larger point here is that I think analyzing the early voting one way or another, I just think there's no way to get like a conclusion from that. Like it might look like 26, 27% in favor of Democrats right now, but there's no guarantee that the election vote is not going to come in and kind of wipe that out, right? So,
Yeah, it's first of all, it's too unreliable, first of all, but second of all, it's not over till it's over.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
the problem here, what I really want to avoid, because it's happened before, where it looks like Kamala's going to just slobber on his knob in Pennsylvania, right? Like just beat the fuck out of him in Pennsylvania in the early voting. So some liberal folks who are younger might see that and say, well, I mean, if she's already slob knobbering him, I might just not even bother going to vote because it's already over. No, it isn't. It's not over. Go vote. You need to vote. Please vote. Let me throw this out there too because I am just so passionate about voting. If you are a Trump supporter, go vote. If you are a Kamala supporter, go vote. If you are a third party supporter, go vote for Kamala. I cannot make this clear enough. If you are of voting age, if you are registered to vote, go vote. I don't care if you agree with me. You need to vote. You have two civic duties, voting and jury duty. Do those and you're good.
You also
So
have to pay
go vote.
taxes.
Oh well, yeah, but not everybody has to pay taxes
Sure, that's true.
just
That's true.
because they can vote.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to say here other than that I think that analyzing early voting is a fool's errand one way or the other, because you just don't know what's going to happen. Like you said, it's not over till it's over. Just all we can
Yeah,
do is vote on election day and before, and yeah,
yeah, you gotta go vote, guys. Please vote. Please, God, please go vote. Um, the next thing that I want to talk about, again with voting, split ticket. So I don't know how you feel about this, Anthony, but so far from the polls, the early voting, if you combine everything that we're seeing so far, split ticket voting is really common in this
yeah.
election.
I'm a bit skeptical about this, and I can tell you
And it
why.
seems to favor Democrats too.
Yes, yes. So split ticket voting is a thing that happens, but to the degree we're seeing in the polls, that would be like basically a record amount of split ticket voting.
I'm only
Senate.
seeing like 2%.
I'm seeing in some states there are Senate Democrats that are outperforming Harris by like 8 or 9 points in certain
I'm not
states.
seeing that at all. I'm looking at like poll averages.
Yeah,
What I'm
well,
seeing for split tickets is that in PA, the senator is up by 3%. In Wisconsin, the senator is up by 1% over Kamala, and in Michigan, they're up 3%
it's
over Kamala.
I think depending on the state, it's difficult to get like good averages for state polls because they're kind of infrequent. But I did see like a Texas poll that showed the Democrat 1 point ahead of Ted Cruz. There's no way that's true. There's no way that's happening.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah, and I think
Like, I'm
there's
sorry, guys, we're stuck with Ted Cruz. Like, stop sending money to the campaigns in Texas. It's not happening. Send them to Florida and the Rust Belt.
I think there's reason to believe though that so the ridiculous polls like that are probably not true. But I think there's reason to believe that Harris is outperforming the polls, but pollsters are, shall we say, a little bit traumatized by their error in 2020 and 2016. So they're making it seem like it's closer than it actually is.
I think that that's conspiracy tier.
No, I don't think so. I think I've heard from multiple different polling analysts at this point, including Nate Silver. It's kind of not believable that you would see 47, 48 in every single swing state from multiple different pollsters. It's not a conspiracy, it's called herding. The phenomenon basically is that, now that there are polling models out there that, rate polling firms based on their relative success, it's simply safer from their bottom line to kind of show a closer race than it is to make a less close poll and then be totally wrong, right?
Sure, but at the same time, you can't assume that Harris is outperforming. You have
No, no, no.
literally no data to back
I'm
that
not
up at
assuming
all.
that. I'm not assuming that. In fact, I
You
would
just said
say
that.
no, 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 no. I'm saying it's possible. And I think it's
Oh,
possible.
sure. Yeah, I guess so.
And I think it could be happening, but I'm not going to be assuming it. I'm not going to I'm not going to tell people don't vote because it's a lock. You should vote
No,
as it's
here, as a matter of
under.
fact, a message to all the liberals out there. Trump is still ahead. You guys got to get out the vote. Please go
Yeah,
vote. Oh
yeah,
my God,
exactly.
he's driving it. Oh my God, he has the edge. Guys, go vote.
Yeah, exactly. But I would be
Why are
surprised.
people so dumb, man? Why do we have to spank people into voting?
I don't know. I think people are lazy, and I think that's really
You
it.
can mail it
Yeah, but you got to request the mail-in ballot if you're in certain states, Tom.
online.
Yep, you got to go onto a website and fill out a form. Could you believe that?
Oh my God.
I know, it's so much.
I was actually mad that they sent me the mail in because it didn't really give me like an option. When you now, because I just moved recently, so within state actually, when you have to re-register now, it just automatically does mail-in ballot as the primary way of voting in PA.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it automatically does it. You have to opt out.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. But if you don't want to, like I don't want to, I like to vote in person. you take the mail-in ballot and you leave it in the envelope and you just bring it with you and give it to the polling place and just vote in person.
I see. I see. Well,
So it's
yeah,
no biggie.
yeah. So I guess my point with the split ticket voting is that I think either the Senate results are going to be lower than they are showing in the polls, or that Harris is going to outperform the polls. I don't think we're going to see the level of split ticket that's being shown in some states.
I don't know, dude. I honestly would believe it, especially in like North Carolina. I really believe it.
Well, North Carolina is kind of a special case, right?
Yeah, honestly, that's why I said especially
Yeah, you got that guy, the what's it called, the Nude
the
Africa
black
Forum,
Nazi.
the black Nazi who really likes transgender porn.
Yeah, not that
Yeah,
there's anything wrong with
no,
that,
nothing wrong with that, but it's just funny.
but maybe as a politician, keep it out of your campaign.
Yeah, yeah.
Not a smart thing to add to your campaign. Um, so the next thing that we wanted to talk about, and this was your topic, so I'll let you take over here. What's this Tim Walz scandals that you've
Okay,
been heating me up about?
okay. So by all accounts, it seems like Tim Walz is just a normal dude who happens to be a politician, right? I mean, you just look at his background; it just seems that way. So the Republicans have been trying to find scandal after scandal, and all of them just make him look like neutral at best or even better, right? So like there the first one that I sort of saw was that apparently, he had once said he had been in Hong Kong during the Tiananmen Square protests. Apparently that's not true. He was only there the week after. Wow, big deal, right? So
Yeah.
so different. Then there was another one which I thought this was hilarious. Apparently, when he was in his 20s, and he went to China. Apparently, he got the daughter. By all accounts, she's very attractive. A very attractive daughter of a Chinese Communist Party member to fall in love with him, and they had a sort of like Romeo and Juliet situation for a little bit there. And I'm like, okay, so he was in his 20s and he got like some hot girl
He
to
got
like
laid.
him. Yeah, pretty much. The scandal
A
is he got
20-year-old
laid.
got laid. Unbelievable.
Yeah, amazing. And the best one, this is my favorite one that I just saw. Um, the headline was something like Tim Walz convinces a student who was addicted to drugs and alcohol to keep playing football. Basically healing him with the magic of athletics. You know what I mean? Like making him feel
I,
better against his struggles.
dude, there was one of them. I've seen a lot of people spoofing how bad they've been trying to make him look, and it just isn't working. And I read one of them. It was Tim Walz claims that he received tons of ice cream at local ice cream parlor, when in fact our investigation shows that his ice cream cone was only 12 ounces.
Yeah,
Interesting, Tim.
yeah, but I just think this is, well, number one, it's ridiculous on its face because none of these are real scandals. They're neutral at best or at worst, like I said. And second of
The
all,
thing is, in none of them, he's even outright lying. Normally, when it's a scandal, it's because somebody lied about something. But Tim Walz doesn't lie.
yeah, but
He doesn't need to. He's never done anything.
the more stupid and insidious thing to me is like, how can you try to pin these things on Tim Walz as if they're bad while you're simultaneously running the candidate who grabs women by the pussy, fucks porn stars while his wife is pregnant? Like,
It sounds like such a comedy. Like, dude, I want you to imagine if you took all of Trump's gaffes, okay? Like we have them recorded on a flash drive, and we just go back to 2010, okay? And we just show the average person from 2010 what the presidential race looks like in 2024. They might have a fucking meltdown.
no, it'd be over. Do you remember John Edwards got in trouble for having an affair while his wife had cancer? Are you kidding? Trump has done basically
Yeah.
the same thing. Like, it's insane.
Well, I mean, he's done much worse than that. Like, all right. Now that we're on the topic of things that Trump has done that are horrible, that should be considered scandalous, but somehow people don't think of. I don't know how they don't think of them, but I want to highlight one key thing. Back in the 70s and 80s, Trump real estate committed some very heinous crimes. So often when you're arguing with a Trump supporter, one of the things that comes up is the issue of race. And they'll say, he's not racist. Even if you didn't bring up them being racist in any capacity, they're hyper fixated on it because that's what people with a problem with race do. They hyper fixate on racial issues. And you'll often hear he's not racist. What evidence do you have that he's racist? Come on, why is he racist? I want to bring up one of the prime examples of why Trump is a racist. Okay? I used to be on the fence about this issue, but I'm sorry. He's a racist. So, in the 1970s, 80s, Trump real estate had apartments, hotels, stuff like that, and they were renting out spaces for people to live in. They were in charge of living spaces, housing. And housing agencies in cities and states, and I don't know if there's a federal one, but cities and states have these housing authorities, and they would send out like mystery people every now and then because it was illegal to discriminate against people in housing based on their race. And at the time, that was a relatively new idea. Like
Yeah,
this was a new thing that you couldn't redline, I believe is what they call it, where
that's
you
right.
just don't let African Americans buy certain houses in certain places, for example. So they send in like their special people. They'll send in a white guy and then a black guy, and like they'll do A/B testing to see the kind of results that they get. They do this multiple times before they come to the conclusion that somebody has done anything nefarious. But in Trump real estate's specific case, they would send in the black guy or the black family. They would ask, "Hey, what do you guys have available? What can we look at?" And the black families were being told, "We don't have anything. There's literally no openings at all." And the white families were being told, "Oh yeah, here's all the openings we have." And it would be like one after the other too, like no time delay. Okay? So they did this multiple times just to have evidence, and then he went to court over it and they found him guilty. Him, Trump, not his company. Trump was found guilty because the management at the real estate company, they said that the orders to do that came directly from his mouth. He instructed us to do this, and he was held accountable for it in a court of law. This is public information. You can go look this up anytime that you want. And honestly, I think that that's the best example I can possibly think of him being a racist.
I mean, a lot of people also like to bring up the Central Park Five stuff that he still thinks that they were guilty.
Yeah, he's a lunatic for that one. I think in that one, he's just so entrenched that if he admits that he was wrong, he might actually be held accountable in court because he's
Yeah,
railed against them so hard.
yeah.
And then there's the Muslim ban, of course, but I think that okay, so I actually think that the Muslim ban thing, I don't think that that's a racist thing as much as it is that he's trying to appeal to racists. And the reason that I'm highlighting this is because I think that liberals have done a particularly bad job of framing Trump's wrongdoings.
Uh,
And when I say that, what I mean is you'll often get like I see this constantly where they'll pose the question. It'll be like a hypothetical, and it's you're talking to a Trump supporter, and they say, "Oh, well, why is he racist?" And it seems to me like generally the liberals' response is, "Well, he might not be racist, but it sure does seem like a lot of racists support him." No, you're wrong. He's racist. Look at his housing decisions in the 70s and 80s. He's a racist. You can demonstrate it. It was demonstrated in a court of law and they found him guilty. He's a racist.
yeah,
Stop backpedaling.
it's about as definitive as you can get. Like literally, found guilty. I mean,
Literally found guilty of racial discrimination in housing. It's not. You can't get more obvious than that, dude.
but Tom, what do you say to the people who say, "Listen, that was a long time ago. He's changed."
It's possible.
Okay, it's possible. I would say
It's totally possible. So listen, I will give the benefit of the doubt that maybe he doesn't agree with that anymore. That's entirely possible, and that's totally fine if you believe that or don't believe that. That's fine. The thing that I want to say about that is more like it doesn't get you off scot free. Like even if that is the case, you asked me demonstrate something to me that proves that he is racist. Okay, here you go. I have demonstrated that to you. So if you move the goalposts and say, well, that was a long time ago, what has he done recently? Then you can start talking about the Muslim ban.
you can also
Or you can talk about
the
the Central Park Five.
or Obama's
Or you
birth
can talk about the
certificate.
Nazi shit. Yeah, or the birther movement. Like, there's tons of examples. Though I do think that those three examples are significantly less egregious than the denial of housing
Oh, totally
based
agree.
along
Yeah.
racial lines. Like, that is just the most egregious you can possibly get.
Yeah, totally agree there.
But yeah, if he changed, okay. What's your point?
I would say that there's no functional difference between, if you're a politician, there's no functional difference between a politician who's actually racist versus one who passes racist
Functionally
policies
racist.
or pulls or pushes for racist policies to appeal to racists. You know what
He's
I mean?
actually racist versus functionally racist.
Yeah, I think he's at least functionally racist. He's probably also actually racist.
I have no doubt in my mind. Like, is it possible that he's changed his opinions on these things over the past, like, 40, 50 years? Yeah, of course it is. But come on, let's be real. Between you and me, let's just be honest here. He didn't.
Yeah, I mean,
If anything, he's gotten more extreme as he's aged, not less.
yeah, and he had just had a rally with the watermelon carving guy, so.
Yeah, like literally at his rally just a week ago. It hasn't even been a whole week
Has it
as
really
of recording
not?
this.
Oh my god.
It has not even been a whole week. And we have the guy who spoke at Trump's rally and said that black people carve watermelons on Halloween.
I can't believe
like-
this.
Brother, do you know what I find particularly depressing about all that?
What's that?
After that, there were a significant number of African American folks that I saw on TikTok who were laughing at the joke and like really enjoying it. And they're like, oh, it's just a joke. He doesn't mean it. And I'm just like, guys, if you can accept it and still vote for him, that's perfectly fine. That's your right as an American citizen. But to pretend that that wasn't racist, come on.
I obviously cannot speak for black people, but I am, look, my parents are Hispanic. They come from a traditionally conservative culture. Most people in my parents' culture are Republican voters. And I can tell you, they have this idea of like when people like Trump rail against Latinos, they think, oh, he's not talking about me. I'm one of the good ones. And I think
Yeah, I've heard that too.
I think there's some degree of that until the Puerto Rican comment, which was so targeted that a lot of people were just like, wait, he really does, or look, he's not the one who said it, but there are people in his orbit who really do just hate Puerto Ricans and Latinos. It's just like that.
Yeah, well, that's what you get. Like, see, here's the thing about Trump. He does what he says he's gonna do. And I think that, like, especially in 2016, he was saying all these super inflammatory things, and everybody was saying, "Oh, he doesn't mean it. He's just being silly. He's this guy. Like, he's just a jokester. He's not gonna actually do any of this stuff. Come on, guys." And then the problem was he actually did everything that he said he was going to do. So, like, I don't want to hear any excuses now. You know he's going to do what he says he's going to do.
The
You
worst,
know he actually believes what he says.
the worst argument that I've ever heard comes from people like Ben Shapiro, who say, well, yes, Trump did try to overturn the election and do all this horrible shit, but he failed. The guardrails were there and they prevented him successfully.
Oh my God. Dude, all right. I very rarely agree wholeheartedly with Destiny. But in that conversation that he had with Ben Shapiro, I think he had the perfect response to that. I don't want my president to have to be guardrailed into being a real human being.
I mean,
I
yeah,
want them to just act like the president.
it's also just like common sense. Like if someone fails something, it doesn't mean they're not going to try again and succeed. You know what I mean? Like it's
And that's not the point. The point is, yeah, the guardrails are there. But are you going to ram your car into them multiple times on
Yeah.
purpose? That's just dumb.
no, it's so stupid. I think Ben Shapiro is smarter than that, and I think he's just audience.
I
capture.
think he's towing the party line at this point. I actually don't think he's a Trump supporter.
Yeah, I don't think he is either.
I really do think that he's just towing the party line because, well, I mean, money is involved. He is the conservative voice right now.
Yeah, he will lose his whole.
I mean,
audience.
let's think about this for a second. Who, other than Ben Shapiro, can you think of a person that you would say is definitively the voice of conservative media?
No, probably not.
It's Ben Shapiro. Like he has that mantle placed upon himself.
Yeah. Unless you
So-
count people like Jordan Peterson, I don't know if he counts.
I think I would have counted him like 10 years ago. But I
Yeah.
think the zeitgeist of the time has passed him.
Yeah, totally.
But Ben Shapiro, he's a survivor. He's stayed in there. Like he's the conservative voice right now. Like he is the voice of conservatives.
do
And
you
I
think
mean,
about-
that's a pretty powerful position to be in.
What do you think about Elon Musk possibly being an illegal immigrant?
I don't know what you're talking about at all.
Okay, well, I'll explain the story. Apparently, he confessed, I don't know if it was like in a talk or something, about how when he first came to the United States, he's from South Africa.
Yeah.
When he first came to the United States, he came on a student visa, but then started his company illegally instead of like you're not supposed to be.
Oh, like he
working.
pretended he was a citizen
No, it's not that
to
he
start
pretended
his business?
It's not that he pretended he was a citizen. It's that you cannot be working unless you're on a work visa, and he was on a student visa, and he didn't plan really on going to college or finishing it. He just wanted.
I'm not
to,
gonna lie to you. I don't blame him at all.
Yeah, I don't look. I don't think it matters personally. I
No,
don't think that's a law. It should be a law. I don't think that should be a law personally.
Let me explain myself here. If it's the case that those laws are in place and he's not held accountable for his actions, that's a failing of the American government, not a failing of Elon Musk.
Yeah, see, that's where I'm coming from. I don't care about that particular issue personally, but if it's the law, it's the law, right? And apparently, after he said this, some like government agencies were saying, well, I mean, if this is true, he might have to be denaturalized because if you lie on your visa application, that's what happens. You get denaturalized. You lose your citizenship.
Yeah, but isn't he a full citizen at this point?
Yes, but if he became a full citizen by lying on the visa that initially got him here, he can be denaturalized.
I don't think that's necessarily how that works because people come over here and get like marriaged all the time into green cards. And
That's
then
true.
it's turned out that it's fake and they still get to keep their green cards.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that it's I'm not saying it's an open and shut case, but I've seen discussion of this happening.
Yeah, he's a billionaire anyway. He's not getting deported.
Yeah, no, he's not. He ain't getting deported. That's for sure. I just think it's really
Guys,
funny.
just remember, if the punishment for a crime is that you have to pay a fine, it means that it's only illegal for poor people to do it.
Yeah, I just think it's funny. It's just one of those moments of hypocrisy. I don't think there's anything more to it, and I don't think he's going to get deported. It's just funny.
Yeah, obviously not. But the thing is, it's just I think that Elon Musk, as the owner of Twitter, there needs to be some kind of formal check and balance in place where someone who controls a social media platform like that is not allowed to skew the conversation in the way that he is.
I think he would
Like,
say that
it
they
has
would
to be considered interference at a certain point.
to steelman him, and I don't really want to steelman him because I hate him. But to steelman him, I think he would say, yeah, maybe I'm skewing it in the Republican direction, but before I came in, it was skewed in the Democrat direction.
I don't care. No, that makes no difference to me.
I
I don't
also,
care if it's skewed. That's not my problem. My problem is that he personally is skewing it.
I also think that there's some degree of
And his
misunderstanding.
nonsense polls are really bad.
Yeah, but there's some degree of misunderstanding about the initial like Twitter file stuff. People like to point it out. It's like, oh, see, the Biden administration pressured pressured Twitter to take out down the Hunter Biden story. When you actually read the emails, it seems more like, hey, look, we think this might be you
Please
know
do this.
you might be a Russian op. Please take this down. And then you can see the emails of the Twitter executives having earnest debates about whether or not they should do it. Like, it's not like, the government top down forced them to do something. It's like,
Yeah.
people tried to make the best decision that they could. Maybe it was incorrect. Maybe it wasn't. But it's not the way it's being portrayed. Meanwhile, Elon Musk actually is coordinating with the Trump
Yeah,
campaign.
unilaterally.
He just is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Literally appearing at the rallies.
it's like everything they accused Democrats of doing. It's so funny.
I think the real problem here that we're experiencing is that we really need to go back to a time where rich people are veiled in shadows and mysteries, living in castles in the middle of nowhere, and you never interact with them because the rich people celebrity thing is just not working.
Bro, it's horrible. Every time I see an Elon Dick Rider online, I want to kill myself.
Oh my
It's so
god, it's
cringe.
so bad.
Yeah.
Dude, and this shit with Polymarket that he's been pushing so hard is
Oh my
just
god.
like, oh my god. Do you know how many people I've met that actually believe that Polymarket is like a pollster?
Oh no, don't tell me that. That's
No, I'm
horrible.
dead serious. Like, okay, so a I will speak to you in code for a second. A fine feathered friend of ours believes that,
Of course he
or
is.
used to believe that until I corrected him.
Of course he
But
is.
the thing is, the way that he phrases it in his posts that he makes about Polymarket, if you don't know any better, you might think that. Like, it's designed in a way where it kind of looks a little bit like that if you're uneducated on what they look like.
For a
You could
few,
easily believe that. And that to me is just tampering and interference.
yeah, I think listen for our viewers who may not know Polymarket, it's a
Oh yeah.
it's a betting platform where basically you can bet on who's going to win elections. Really, you can bet on anything, but a lot of people are using it for elections. And number one, it's kind of self-selection because you can only bet via crypto. And let's just say a certain population has a lot of crypto, right? Second of all, it came out recently that the biggest the odds on Polymarket for the election specifically were being moved by apparently a gigantic transaction from like this French millionaire who like legitimately believes that Trump is going to win the election. So you can like it's so big it is moving the odds, these transactions.
Well, it's also it's important to look at who founded Polymarket.
Peter Thiel.
Okay.
Peter Thiel.
Yeah, it's literally Peter Thiel. Isn't he like maybe you know more about him than I do. He is literally a conspiracy tier maniac, right?
Yeah, kind of. He's how do I put this? I think he has authoritarian tendencies, and I think he really does not like the American way of life. I'll put it that way.
And he's also a CEO, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a CEO of Palantir, which is a defense contractor, and a bunch of other stuff. Yeah.
Palantir. And he was also the former CEO of PayPal, which is why he has that
Yeah,
relationship with Elon
the
Musk.
PayPal mafia, as they call it. Yeah,
And Founders Fund as well. And he was
yeah,
the first outside investor in Facebook.
yeah. That's true. That's true.
Interesting. No, I
He's a
just looked him
massive
up
Trump
really quick to see some
supporter.
of his stuff.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
big
yeah,
Trump
yeah.
supporter. Yeah, he's well known.
He's a venture capitalist. He does his thing. He has a good relationship with Mr. Muskie. At least on the outside. I don't know
He
what's
may
going
have
on
been
behind
one of
closed doors,
the
obviously.
he may have been one of the ones pushing for J.D. Vance, who is also a San Francisco venture capitalist.
Yikes.
Yeah,
Disturbing, to say the absolute least. But the point in bringing this guy up is that it's founded by a conspiracy tier maniac who literally has a secondary relationship with Elon Musk. And it's very clear that this is at least somewhat of a coordinated effort to convince people who to vote for. I think
yeah.
it's pretty clear at this point.
I think that's also pretty clear.
Twitter has turned into a propaganda machine for
Yeah,
this
I've
election.
gotten to the point where I've said this to you privately. I think after the election, I think I'm getting off Twitter. I really think it's a harmful. Like it was harmful for other ways before, like it's addictive. Social media inherently harmful in certain ways. But now I think it's harmful on like a civic and societal level. I feel like by using Twitter, I'm exposing myself to propaganda, foreign and domestic, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I have a very complicated opinion on social media and good or bad and foreign assets and shit like that. My opinion is that you're gonna get got by propaganda no matter what you do. The thing is,
Sure.
I think that Twitter is just particularly bad for
Yeah,
it.
that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a degree here, right?
But at the same time, it's not TikTok.
No, it's not TikTok.
Dude, I know you're not on the TikTok.
No.
I know. I gotta tell you, it is nonstop propaganda. Nonstop. From both sides, though. Here's the thing, it's like they are fair and balanced in that they give you the most extreme propaganda possible from both sides.
Yeah, I kind of think that in and of itself is its own propaganda. It just furthers division, and I think division
Yeah,
helps
it
our
just makes
enemies.
it seem like people are further apart than they actually are.
Yeah, exactly.
Just this is a small tangent here, but just to make this clear for anybody who's listening, I've been really, and maybe we'll do a full episode on this after we run out of the election coverage stuff next week. But I just want to say I have been doing a huge, mega, super crazy, wild deep dive on um, media skew. Like, how is the media spun one way or the other? Okay? And I have to tell you, there is almost no such thing as a liberal bias in the mainstream media for the United States. It
No.
just does not exist. The reason that people perceive it as a left leaning bias for the mainstream media is because a vast majority of them are moderate, they're centrist, and that's left of extreme conservatives. The skew right now is actually towards the right as far as the mainstream media is concerned. It's just that America as a whole is so ridiculously conservative that it seems like it's far left.
So,
But in actuality, it's just normal in the rest of the world.
see, I don't know the particulars about your deep dive, but I do think that the mainstream media does allow Republicans to frame the conversation, and a lot of the coverage on the liberal side is more reactive.
I'm saying there is no liberal side when it comes to mainstream
Well,
media.
actually, kind of on this topic, what do you make of Jeff Bezos basically interfering in the Washington Post and keeping them from endorsing a candidate?
I think that if when he became, he's not full owner of WAPO,
No, he
right?
is.
He's
He
like a
is the full.
portional
I
owner.
think he's the full owner.
Is he? Well, I knew he had some ownership stake in WAPO, but I have to tell you, if you didn't expect someone like Jeff Bezos to do that, you're crazy.
I do think it was so. It hadn't
Though I
happened.
do have to tell you, I think it's a good idea. I think
Well,
that Jeff Bezos has the right plan.
I,
He
I
shouldn't let them endorse somebody.
I have two minds on this, and I'll kind of go through them. First, I want to say to your point about people should have expected this. While he hadn't meddled in the coverage before now, I do think it was a little bit naive for people to think that there wouldn't come a time where he would.
Also, that's as far as we know.
Yeah, that's as far as we know. That's another thing. The second thing, I can maybe agree or disagree with the stance that newspapers should or should not endorse candidates. I think that's an open discussion, and I think it's a fair discussion on both sides. However, independent of the decision, I think the idea of like a billionaire owner interfering in the coverage of like a major newspaper, one of the major newspapers, I think that's unambiguously bad.
I actually have the complete opposite opinion on you here.
Really? Okay.
Jeff Bezos by saying you aren't allowed to endorse a candidate, he is keeping it unbiased.
You could look at it that way, or you
What
could
I'm
look at
saying
it,
is, when earlier I just said I'm glad that he's telling them to not endorse a candidate because I want to get back to a fucking time period where journalists were supposed to be unbiased. That is how you are supposed to report the news. I don't want WAPO to support one candidate over the other. I want them to find the truth and report it.
look, I'm sympathetic to that argument. I don't even think it's wrong. My issue is more with the idea of like one single owner just unilaterally telling the reporters what they can or can't write. I think that's bad.
Well, I don't think that's what you said he was doing. I think what you said he was doing is that he told them they weren't allowed to endorse a candidate.
Well, they had the endorsement ready, and he said they couldn't publish it.
Good.
Yeah.
I
don't
think that that's only a good thing.
I think it would be better if the owner, whoever the ownership is, was completely independent from the reporting side. Now I feel like I can't trust Washington Post reporting on anything adjacent to Jeff Bezos.
I think that's because you've been primed for so many years to think that it's okay for people to just be biased in reporting. Like,
No. I'm
I
not
think that
saying
you've
it's
been
okay.
primed by what?
If they had, if the editor had come to this decision, hey, look, we're not going to endorse a candidate. I don't have any problem with that. I have a problem with the owner, Jeff Bezos, doing it.
Okay, so what's the difference between the singular editor in chief doing it and the owner doing it?
So the
Especially
editor,
when the owner was the one who made the morally correct decision.
so the editor in chief is a journalist, and for better or for worse, they have full control over what happens in the paper, and that's expected in journalism. The owner, Jeff Bezos, has interests and biases that are monetary, and in fact, you could say this is an attempt to not sour Blue Origin, his government contractor, with the incoming Trump administration if he wins, right?
I
And
don't care why
don't
he's
like
doing it. I care that he came to the correct conclusion.
Well, but he could do this with anything now. We don't know. We don't know what
Sure.
he's doing. I don't like that.
Sure.
Now I can't trust Washington Post on certain things.
What I'm saying is if you ever 100% trust one source on anything,
No, you
you need to
shouldn't.
stop.
You shouldn't. But what I'm saying
Like,
is
you're
that,
already full stop, brother.
what I'm saying is that they traded in one bias for another. Maybe it's not
No.
a Democrat
No, they did
bias
not.
anymore. Yeah, it's a Jeff Bezos bias now. It's a Jeff
No,
Bezos
it's a
bias.
Jeff Bezos saying, let's be unbiased.
I don't think so, because now that we know that he can reach down and make editorial decisions, we have to call into question other editorial decisions that may have been made.
You can do that with every single news network in the entire nation.
You can, but we should at least not make it the normal.
Oh my God! This will turn into an hour-long fight
It will,
if
and
we keep going.
we're already an hour in.
I'm getting enraged. I'm not gonna lie.
Let's save this for another episode then.
So, yeah, definitely. I know we're starting to come against the wall here of how long we normally like our episodes to be, but I do want to take a second. We have to talk about something, especially since this is right before the election. We need to talk about false news, the misinformation campaigns that are being run. I feel obligated as somebody with a platform like this to tell everybody, don't just look at one source. What I recommend doing is using something that aggregates news stories and tells you where biases are and things like that.
Tom,
And
are we being sponsored by Ground News right now?
actually, no, I was going to give multiple options. Ground is one of them, though. I do like Ground News, but I've actually found a new love, Anthony.
Oh boy.
It's called Straight Arrow News.
Oh, I just saw an ad for this yesterday. Actually, it's the first time I heard
Dude.
about it.
Straight Arrow News is awesome. They have this thing, so similar to Ground. Ground has your blind spot analysis, but this is a little bit different. This is something that they just call the media miss. And this is where they just outright tell you, hey, this is not being reported on by the left, or hey, this is not being reported on by the right. It's like, for example, I just pulled it up on my phone. Right now the media miss by the left was Secret Service brass interfered in Inspector General assassination probe. And then the media miss by the right was pregnant teen died in Texas after not getting care in 3 different trips to the ER. So it's really good.
Are we getting paid
It's
for
really
this?
good. No, we're not getting paid for this.
Why the fuck not? We should
Hey,
be.
listen, yo, Straight Arrow News. You want to pay me? I mean, I'll talk more about it, but no, we are not getting paid for this. Actually, I wish we were, but I saw an ad for it the other day and downloaded it because I mean I'm just into. I am hyper vigilant of being biased, so I like to get as many misses as possible, and I will tell you that the Straight Arrow News, Ground has that thing where you pay for. Straight Arrow News is straight up free.
Wait, seriously?
It's free. Like,
Oh
you
my
get the
God.
media miss for free.
Wait, what do you have to pay for then on Straight Arrow?
I think there's just ads.
Damn, okay, I might get in on this then.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And it feels like news used to feel like they actually just report straight facts. Like, here, today's headline: what share of Americans secretly vote different from their partners? That's a statistical analysis. Like,
Yeah.
actual news. I don't know if you heard about this, but I've been following it a little bit just because I'm a weather guy. But Spain had some brutal rainfall
Massive
recently.
flooding. It's true.
Now there's more than 200 confirmed dead
Jesus.
from the rainfall. But like I said, it just reports straight facts in that portion of the app. Highly recommend. I don't want to make this too long for free, but Straight Arrow News, Ground News, they're all good. Always check out NPR. They're definitely they're practically PBS, so safe choice. But I think Ground and Straight Arrow News are my favorite 2 apps, and you can always use PolitiFact. I just want to make sure that you guys are nailed up with the best resources possible, because in this campaign, we've learned it from the past 2 elections. You are going to see misinformation flying around. It is going to happen. Please equip yourself with the tools to fight back. Don't be that dude who shows up to the argument with a limp dick. Don't do it. Show up fully erect instead, I guess.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
where that analogy is going.
It's a great way to end our episode, Tom. A very
Just show up
important
to all your
pre-election.
arguments fully erect. I promise you'll win.
Okay.
Oh, wait, we forgot one topic
Oh,
really
what's
quick.
that?
I want to
What's
go
that?
over this. What?
What's the topic?
I wanted to say the campaign decision, because we analyzed Trump's campaign decisions a lot in this episode. I do want to talk about one specific Kamala campaign decision that was perfect. So only a few days ago, I think a week now, actually, I think it was last Saturday, but Kamala decided to give a speech at the Ellipse?
The ellipse. The ellipse.
The Ellipse. I keep wanting to call it the Ellipses. But she gave a speech at the Ellipse, okay? And the reason that this is so important is, one, her speech was good enough. Whatever. It was a pretty run-of-the-mill speech, in my opinion. That's not what I was focused on.
She called him a petty tyrant. It was a great speech.
Yeah, but she does something similar to that every speech she gives. And she's right every time, too. So don't get me wrong. But the thing is, giving a speech at the Ellipse is so important because it's where Trump gave his speech on January 6th, right before his gaggle of goons descended upon the Capitol building in an attempt to stage a coup and overthrow the government. And the sassiness of having her give her, she called it the closing argument speech. She gave her closing argument speech at the place where Trump did that. It was a perfect campaign move. I see it as completely flawless, while at the exact same time, or very close in time, to Trump giving his Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, it's actually an amazing contrast.
Perfect.
Like, one candidate actually looks like a president. The other candidate looks like a lunatic. Yeah.
Yeah, chef's kiss. Lunatic is just such a perfect word to describe his campaign.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. All right, well, we're running against it a little bit here, so we're going to go ahead and finish up unless you got some closing arguments of your own, Anthony.
Vote preferably for Kamala Harris.
Vote, period. End of story. Full start. You're 18, you don't have an excuse.
I'm officially endorsing, maybe this is not the Coconut Tree Podcast endorsement, but I'm officially endorsing Kamala Harris.
No, the Coconut Tree Podcast has officially endorsed Kamala Harris.
Okay.
For the one vote that we might sway.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a little on the fence, Anthony. I don't know. But no, I please go vote. But yeah, so that's where we're going to end it. Please go vote. Kamala Harris is clearly the superior choice. We've endorsed her formally. Straight Arrow News, Ground News, NPR. Those should be your primary fact-checking sources during the next 2 weeks to figure out what the fuck is going on with your nation. And yeah, remember, you can listen to us on Spotify, on YouTube. You can always go ahead and hit that follow and subscribe button. We always love that. That's always great. And most importantly, especially the message about voting, share it with your friends and family, please. It will be cool, not cringe, I promise. And have a nice week, everybody. Bye, guys.